People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Episode 4. Necrophagy. Greetings and welcome to the People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. I am your host, DB Spitzer, and just wanted to say hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. It's Labor Day weekend right now. Finally got those goofy roofers off the roof, and I'm able to do an episode. Gonna be doing an episode on things that eat dead stuff. Or near dead, but gonna be dead. But dead stuff. Definitely carrion eaters. Dead stuff. And some dead stuff. We'll be talking about some dead stuff too. So, don't worry about that. Who are we? We are the People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. You're part of it, so feel free to submit something, send me something. If you've got a project you want people to know about, you've got I don't know. Send me clips. I'll play it. It'll be rad. People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos, your guide to pop cult junk nostalgia. Listen to us talk about horror and sci-fi through a Lovecraftian lens. We're available on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Stitcher, and we've got a blog, and you can find links for all those pgttcm.podbean.com. That is where it's hosted, and where the RSS feed comes out of, and where all the links are. And you can go to past episodes for this series of People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. The previous series is available on Podgarden, but it's not as good. So, yeah. People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Necrophagy. So, what is, necrophagia? It is the etymology of the word necro, meaning dead body, to perish, to disappear, and phagy. It's to eat, consumption. And that's what necrophagy is. Or necrophagia. Necrophagia. Yeah, okay. Eating the dead. So, is there anyone in the Cthulhu Mythos that loves to eat the dead? This is a multiple choice answer. But we're only talking about one. And that would be my good friends, the Ghouls. I mean, yeah, Ghouls generally don't worship Tsathoggua, but they're cool with me. I mean, they don't go after me, and I don't go after them. It's kind of a mutual understanding. And yeah, I like Ghouls. They're cool. I like Ghouls in most fiction, as long as they're like, carrion eaters and don't go after the living most of the time. Or if they're like, the ghouls in Fallout, those guys are cool. And, not the super irradiated ones, but, I like ghouls. Ghouls are cool. Sorry. Alright, so let's talk about ghouls. Where do ghouls come from? Ghouls, ghoul is a monster or an evil spirit. I think it's more tangible. It's not like a misty thing, but a a monster or an evil spirit in Arabian mythology associated with the consuming of human flesh and graveyards. Dogs. Check. The earliest anyone's seen Ghouls mentioned pen to paper has been 1001 Nights. Term was first used in English literature in 1786 by William Beckford for Valtak? I don't know how to pronounce that. I know it's not Vatel. I don't know how to pronounce that. It is, when I click on the link for researching it, it doesn't have a pronunciation, so yeah. Anyway, but it describes ghoul in Arabian folklore. Then, you know, modern fiction kind of undead monster, like what I personally think of when someone says ghoul. I think of an undead monster that eats the flesh of the living. You know, that's just me. But the word ghoul is also used as a derogatory term for someone who likes the macabre, such as myself, or those whose profession is linked directly to death, such as a gravedigger, grave robber. I don't know. I wouldn't call someone at a funeral home ghoulish, but maybe they have ghoulish humor. I don't know. I don't know anyone who works at a funeral home. But I know of a Daniel Johnson song that's titled Funeral Home. It's really good if you mix Shasta Tiki Punch with Shasta Cola. It's delicious. It's like way better than Cherry Coke. Shasta. Mix them together, and it's almost better than a real soda. Yeah, there's not a sponsor I'll have. Shasta. The term ghoul is from the Arabic ghoul, from kala, to seize. The term is etymologically, I hate that word, related. The term is related to, I'm not gonna edit that, Galu, a Mesopotamian demon. And I actually like took the Arabic word that Wikipedia had when I was researching that stuff, and I threw it onto the goggle, and I goggled it, and then I did an image search, and it was all like Shrek-like monsters reaching for you. It's like, okay, it's a little bit different. It's yeah. Anyway, yeah. So in ancient Arabian folklore, the ghoul dwells in places that no one goes, places and burial grounds, that kind of stuff. And ghoul's a type of jinn believed to be sired by Iblis. And as we all know, that Iblis is the devil in Islam, or at least that's what Wikipedia told me. And then I went, okay, that's cool. I don't need to look up any more. No. Iblis, if I'm pronouncing that right, is a jinn who refused to bow to Adam. Believed him to be one of the angels, but this view is hard to reconcile with Iblis' own statement that he was created from fire. Primary characteristic of the devil is hubris. Hey, alright, makes sense. Okay, got it. So, ghoul is like a desert-dwelling, shape-shifting demon that can assume the guise of animals, especially hyenas, and it lures unwary people into the desert wastes or abandoned places to slay and devour them. Okay, I wouldn't be cool with hanging out with those ghouls. This creature also preys on young children, drinks blood, steals coins, and eats the dead. And taking the form of the most recent person they've eaten. So, yeah. Okay, and in Arabic, there is a female form to the word ghoul, which is gula, and the plural for ghoul is gillan in colloquial Arabic. Um, yeah, or no, in colloquial Arabic, the term is used for greedy and gluttonous individuals. So let's talk about ghouls in Lovecraft. Um, my first encounter, my first story that was an encounter with ghouls, of course, may have been The Outsider, and that's whether or not you consider The Outsider to be a story about a ghoul. But I don't know. I kind of think that it might be. Let's see. Try this on for size. You tell me if this is a ghoul. I cannot even hint what it was like, for it was a compound of all that is unclean, uncanny, unwelcome, abnormal, and detestable. It was the ghoulish shade of decay, antiquity, and dissolution, the putrid dripping of a lodeon of unwholesome revelation, the awful barring of that which that merciful earth should always hide, God knows was not of this world, or no longer of this world. Yet to my horror I saw its eaten-away bone-revealing outlines, a leering, abhorrent travesty to the human shape, and its moldy, disintegrating apparel, an unspeakable quality that chilled me even more. So, that's a ghoul, right? I mean, okay, so, yeah. Didn't actually see the ghoul eating dead stuff, but it's either a ghoul or possibly just a corpse that's been undead in some underground, I don't know, city of the dead for a very long time. I don't know. Something to think about. Or not. It's up to you. The next one that I think of when I think of ghouls is the Hound. And people are like, there's no ghouls in the Hound. And I'm like, yeah, there are. And people are like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And I may not, but I'm pretty sure that the Dutch guy, that the two antagonists, they're not protagonists, they're not antagonists, they're just antagonists. Lovecraft's works filled full of antagonists. I'm just going to, there's the people that go out and do stuff, and then there's the people who just like are forced to witness, and they're like antagonists. Yeah, so the ghoul, the Dutch ghoul, that the two ghouls, but not actual ghouls, just people, two gentlemen of ghoulish intention who love grave robbing and then building weird pieces of art with the decayed remains of humans and bits and pieces of, yeah. So, and some people will talk about how the Hound itself is some sort of proto-ghoul to like what Lovecraft was trying to do, and I don't necessarily think that makes much sense. I mean, the Lovecraft ghoul has a canine cast about its face, and the Hound is a hound, which is, a flying canine. So, Lovecraft's ghouls are a nocturnal subterranean race. Some ghouls were once human, but a diet of human corpses and maybe spending time around ghouls or having, I don't know, Maybe if like one of your parents is a ghoul. Apparently, if one of your parents is a ghoul, you're really ugly. I can't remember where that's from. That you're a horrible, misshapen person. But yeah. Um, but yeah, they're canine cast to their face, rubbery, loathsome skin, hoofed feet, and legs that bend kind of like a satyr's, or when you try to think, when you make a dog dance, does it like front paws up and dance with it? Does it bend like that, or I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend like you don't. Okay. So, yeah, the Hound, and they refer to the Dutch guy as like a ghoul, and yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about it that is that really ties it to ghoulish stuff. I don't know.
Around the old pile is a hoary graveyard with instruments dating from around 1730 in the middle. Let's do that again. Around the old pile is a hoary churchyard with interments dating from around 1730 to the middle of the 19th century. From one of the crumbling gravestones dated 1747, I chipped a small piece to carry away. It lies before me as I write, and I ought to suggest some sort of horror story. I must place it beneath my pillow as I sleep. Who can say what thing might not come out of the centuried earth to extract revenge for his desecrated tomb? And should it come, who can say what it might resemble?
Was something that actually Lovecraft wrote to Reinhard Kleiner in 1922 before he wrote The Hound, which takes place in a terrible Holland churchyard, which makes reference to the Flatbush Church being part of the Dutch Reformed Church. Anyway. Yeah, but no, I just wanted to do that so I could get some more of cool stuff, talk in a funny voice. Where else do we find ghouls? So another place to find a ghoul is October 1927 issues of Weird Tales, and then later adapted into the 1972, from 1927 to 1972, as an episode of Night Gallery, Pickman's Model. Pickman's Model is about a painter named Richard Upton Pickman who creates gross, horrifying, sanity-blasting images. The narrator is a friend of Pickman who, after the mysterious disappearance, tells his friends about a time that he went to Pickman's personal gallery and looked at his stuff, and there was a grosso trapdoor down to the underworld where the ghouls lived, and there was a photograph of an actual ghoul. One of the things that in Pickman's various works you see, like skulking around to the Boston train subways, and graveyards and spooky, scary bats and spiders. But then there's actually like a photograph of the thing, and the guy just loses it. He totally loses his shit. He just runs and runs and runs and runs and gets the hell away from Pickman. He's like, dude, there was a photograph of those things that he paints that everyone gets grossed out by. It's not fake. It's real. It's The Real Deal with Bill McNeil. And everyone's like, dude, that shit's messed up. And they're like, yeah, you're not gonna see Pikmin. That guy hangs out with ghouls. Pikmin's model. Funnily enough, Pikmin pops up again in the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. But yeah, it shows up in the Dream Quest. Pikmin also shows up again in the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Here's something to point out right now. Pikmin's model was written in 1926, same year that the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath was. Granted, Pikmin's model was more of a horror story, and the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath is definitely a fantasy. Definitely a fantasy. No bones about that, dude. So, Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. The ghouls are less threatening. They're more like buddies. And one of them is Richard Upton Pickman, who the actual protagonist of the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, it's his cousin, I think. Randolph Carter? Yeah. So, yeah. Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Carter. Let's just say his whole damn name at some point. Randolph Carter dreams 3 times of a majestic city. Then he gets to go see it. He meets some Zoogs, some predatory, super smart rodents. And, yeah, so, okay. So, let's see. At one point in time, Carter goes to, Dianthally to go to Oriab. Dianthale's famous for, and infamous for, its black galleys that frequent the harbors. These galleys are steered by turbaned men who look a little goatish, I think. They trade weird-looking rubies for slaves and gold. So Carter's captured by these turbaned men and flown to the moon of the Dreamlands, not our moon, the Dreamlands, on one of the galleys, and there he learns that the turbaned men are slaves to the terrifying moon beasts, and I think they're the Men of Lang. I might be wrong about that. So the moon beasts and their slaves, the Men of Lang, or the turbaned men, escort Carter across the moon to deliver him to Narlethotep. But at this point in time, he's saved by a bunch of cats who kill the moon beasts and return Carter to the Dreamlands. Let's see. Okay, so at that point, Carter boards a ship, goes to Oriya. From Oriya, he travels across an island riding a zebra. Night gaunts are mentioned. Oh yeah, and he goes to Necronic and discovers a giant carving of the people who live around the area. Or Celiphius? Yeah, it looks like the people from Celiphius. Anyway, so yeah, then he's snatched away by night gaunts and left to die in the underworld. But that's when the ghouls come in. Amongst them is Pikmin and a friend of Carter's. I was thinking it was a cousin of Carter's for some reason. I'm still gonna say he's a cousin, and that source material is wrong. I'm writing a note. Okay. So he's a ghoul, and the ghouls are going to help him get to the Upper Dreamlands, but they have to make their way through the terrible city of the Gugs, which, as we know, Gugs have vertical mouths. They're big, big, big dudes with vertical mouths, and where our elbow is and separates into one arm, their elbow is and separates into two separate arms. And yeah, that's gross. And it's not even that bad. There's also Gugs, and I'm trying to remember if there's Doles or Bowls there, but I can't remember. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Anyway, so they reach on their way to the Upper Dreamlands. They get to the Tower of Koth. Then while there's oh geez, how do you describe this? While they're skulking about the Gug city, trying to be super quiet, the Gug's normal enemies, Ghasts, begin to fight, and the the group just the ghouls and Carter just barely escape with their lives, or in some cases unlives, out a trapdoor and into the Enchanted Woods. But yeah, ghouls, Lovecraftian ghouls. That's what we got for those guys. Is there anything else? Trying to think if there's any other mention of ghouls. Yeah, no, that's it. All right, have a good one, all. All right, here is the ghoul entry for Cthulhu Mythos Encyclopedia by Dan Harms.
Ghouls. Beings that live in tunnels beneath graveyards, in the waking world and the dreamlands. Ghouls can be identified by their canine features, hoofed feet, rubbery skin, moldy odor, and disgusting habits.
Though individuals of the species may make deals with the great old ones, especially Nygotha, ghouls as a whole have not committed themselves to any spiritual practice save a few vague references to Mordigin. Many Russian ghouls who saw the bounty of Stalin's purges came to revere him as the great provider. Recent years have seen the ghouls of New York split into two factions: the traditionalists, who worship Mordigin and believe in conventional grave robbery, and the renegades, who may serve Nyarlathotep and are not adverse to kidnapping to satisfy their cravings. Ghouls are not necessarily unfriendly to humans, who know them and take the time to learn their language of gibberings and meepings, or who present the sign of Ankh to them. On the other hand, they can be quite unfriendly to those who enter their delvings unbidden. The exact origins of the ghouls are unknown, as it has been proven that over time a human can transform into one of these creatures. Proximity of other ghouls and radical change in diet seem to bring about this metamorphosis. Some have speculated this transformation is a result of prion beta neurological disease. At times, ghouls have stolen human infants and replaced them with their own kind. so they might induct their hostages into their species. A few variant ghouls have been reported. Some say that these creatures are more advanced and human-like subspecies that serve the priests of Mordigan. Also, note that the Humaghoul offsprings of human and ghouls that never develop into one or the other, who are considered the bottom of the ghoulish hierarchy. That is what Dan Harms had to say about ghouls. Some of it I didn't read because it didn't really pertain to what we were talking about, so I didn't read it. Oh yeah, I guess Horror at Red Hook has ghouls in it. I don't think I've ever read Horror at Red Hook. If it's good, tell me. If it's racist trash, I won't read it, because I've just always assumed it was kind of racist trash. Okay, that's Lovecraft. That's Lovecraft and ghouls.
People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos, your guide to pop cult junk nostalgia. Listen to us talk about horror and sci-fi through a Lovecraftian lens. We're available on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Stitcher, and we've got a blog, and you can find links for all those pgttcm.podbean.com. That is where it's hosted, and where the RSS feed comes out of, and where all the links are. And you can go to past episodes for this series of People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. The previous series is available on Podgarden, but it's not as good. So, yeah. Due to time constraints, I think that I'm going to be making this a two-parter. So, first part about ghouls, second part about something else that eats the dead stuff, and maybe the living. Ooh, Night of the Flesh Eaters. Who will survive? Night of the Flesh Eaters. Part 2 will be hopefully coming out later this week. And I will consider this all one episode, so don't think I'm just trying to cheat myself. Okay, or you, or anyone. Alright, People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Labor Day!
Well, you used to really be scared here.
Johnny!
You're still afraid.
Stop it now, I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny!
Episode 4. Part 2. Necrophagy.
Greetings and welcome to the People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. I am your host, DB Spitzer. This is part 2 of the Necrophagia episode. So, yeah, we got that going on for us. And gonna be doing an episode on things that eat dead stuff. Or near dead, but gonna be dead. But dead stuff. Definitely carrion eaters. Dead stuff. And some dead stuff. We'll be talking about some dead stuff too. So, don't worry about that. Who are we? We are the People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. You're part of it. So, feel free to submit something, send me something. If you've got a project you want people to know about, you've got a, I don't know. Send me clips. I'll play it. It'll be rad.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments. At this hour, we repeat, these are the facts as we know them. There is an epidemic of mass murder being committed by a virtual army of unidentified assassins. The murders are taking place in villages, cities, rural homes, and suburbs with no apparent pattern or reason for the slayings. It seems to be a sudden, general explosion of mass homicide. We have some descriptions of the assassins. Eyewitnesses say they are ordinary-looking people. Some say they appear to be in a... So, at this point, there is no really authentic way for us to say who or what to look for and guard yourself against. Misshapen monsters. Reaction of law enforcement officials is one of complete bewilderment at this hour. So far, we have been unable to determine that any kind of organized investigation is yet underway. Police, sheriff deputies, and emergency ambulances are literally deluged with calls for help. The scene can best be described as mayhem. Mayors of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Miami, along with the governors of several eastern and midwestern states, have indicated the National Guard may be mobilized at any moment, but that has not happened as yet. The only advice our reporters have been able to get from official sources is for private citizens to stay in their homes behind locked doors. Do not venture outside for any reason until the nature of this crisis has been determined, and until we can advise what course of action to take. Keep listening to radio and TV for any special instructions as this crisis develops further. Thousands of office and factory workers are being urged to stay at their places of employment, not to make any attempt to get to their homes. However, in spite of this urging and warning, streets and highways are packed with frantic people trying to reach their families or apparently to flee just anywhere. We repeat, the safest course of action at this time is simply to stay where you are.
So, have you figured out what we're talking about next? A little bit of a Night of the Living Dead, a little bit of a NOTLD, as I like to call it. I also like to call it Texas Chainsaw Massacre, TCM. Anyway, Night of the Living Dead is a film that came out in 1968. It's an independent film out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, directed by the one, the only, George A. Romero, starring Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea, even though it's weird to see her name as Judith O'Dea, because I've mostly just seen her as Judy O'Dea, or hear people call her Judy O'Dea, because it's generally like a cast and crew and stuff that I hear stuff, so to see her name in print when I'm researching stuff as Judith O'Dea, it's like, oh, I wrote that down as Judith, but I don't know her well enough to call her Judy. Okay. Anyway, those would be who I would call the beginning leads, because you have people who, oh, this is who the movie's about. And it's like, oh, no, this is who the movie's about. It's like, oh, no.
we're who the movie's about. That's how Night of the Living Dead goes. It was filmed in a rural farmhouse in Pennsylvania, and it's been several sequels have been made off of it. It kind of sparked its own genre. People call them zombies, even though Night of the Living Dead, they're technically ghouls. That's what Romero called them. That's what everyone called them when they were like figuring this stuff out, was ghouls. They didn't call them zombies, they called them ghouls. Why? Because these dudes eat the dead. Watch the movie. They'll eat you if you're alive, they'll attack you if you're alive, they'll murder you, and then they'll eat your dead body. So, let's talk about the movie itself. Let's talk about how did several people in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the late 60s go, you know what? Let's stop doing the audio work that we're doing with our company, and you stop doing the commercials that you're doing with your company. Let's get together, let's make a horror film in the middle of nowhere, in a farmhouse with no electricity, no running water, and really no amenities. And what made someone go, you know what? That is a great idea. I see no problem with that. How much money do we have? We don't have that much money because we're two small businesses. That sounds like a great idea. So, Night of the Living Dead, you'll have to excuse me. Everywhere around the neighborhood right now, people are like hammering stuff. No, this isn't an audio effect. There's people hammering on stuff all over the place. And you're going to have to forgive my throat because I am feeling a little sick. Everyone's been getting sick lately. I've been trying to hang out with people. Everyone's... Okay, I swear to your God, I'm not like, I'm sick, and people are hammering on things. It's the zompocalypse. Literally, this is just what's happening today. I think it's kind of funny, but also at the same time, it's like, but what if? But whatever. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna call her Judy O'Day. You know why? Because I think she's swell. I've worried about her. Oh my God, I hope Barbara does well. Every damn time I've seen it since I was like 10. And halfway through I'm like, oh, Barbara, shut up. Just go die already. Where's your brother? Should be here any minute with his sports driving glove. So you know it's Johnny. Yeah, no, Night of the Living Dead. It's probably one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's one of my favorite black and white films of all time. No, actually, my favorite black and white film of all time is The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, or Dr. Mabuse. I can't remember how you're supposed to say it. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, Night of the Living Dead is one of my favorite movies. I saw it, I think, when I was 10 years old, down the street from my parents' house. My friend Greg Bass and I, we stayed up late. We were drinking like Dr. Pepper and Red Baron pizza. That's not an ad for Dr. Pepper or Red Baron pizza. That's just telling you the kind of stuff that, and like ice cream and just garbage. Just, you know, go to the local corner store, have to go through a couple fields with barbed wire fences and horse pastures. This is like, I don't know, boonies. Anyway, go to the corner store, get some soda and candy and that kind of garbage and frozen pizzas, and then go next door, and there was a brick and mortar place that was a video store that had all kinds of videos, and they had like really cool, like a really cool horror section. This is a mom and pop video store that has like the whole video store. They even have like the, you know, curtain part in the back for mom and dad, you know. And anyway, their horror section and their science fiction section and their cult film section were amazing. I think it was called like Jana's Videos and More. Anyway, and something else that I loved about it was that it was built on the top of the remains of a gas station that had burnt down, or not a gas station, but an auto garage that had burnt down, and this like auto garage like had burned down just a few years recently, and the person who had owned it died inside, apparently, some people say, and he apparently haunted the orchard right next to the auto garage, between the auto garage, or the video store, and the heating and air conditioning Met Fab place on the way to the elementary school. Yeah, this is a really specific story. Anyway, you know, and it's like these roads didn't have sidewalks. It was all like gravel and dirt and like old stunted orchards and like just horse pastures with weird looking old horses that, you know, people didn't take care of anymore, or like their kids went off to college and they were just like just old horses. Anyway, and houses were kind of sparse in between. It was like slightly hilly, like kind of like barren, undeveloped. And then you'd have like hilly areas with like tall pine trees and houses, and I don't know. Anyway, spooky place, and the sky's like low and gray like a Japanese table. It's just like dark all the time, and it rains constantly. A lot of Doug firs. Anyway, cedars. Anyway, I don't want to start talking about that stuff. Let's start talking about Night of the Living Dead, which is filmed in Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, as I've talked about. It's got some really great establishing shots of rural Pennsylvania, car driving through the woods with not much around, Barbara running from point A to point B, just kind of like you get kind of a feeling of just like isolation, and the people responsible for that sense of isolation. You have John A. Russo, who was one of the writers on the screenplay, and then George Romero, who was one of the writers for the screenplay, and also he directed it. As I said, you have Dwayne Jones as Ben, Judy O'Day as Barbara, Cal Hardman, who owned one of the production companies that formed. Oh man, why am I having such a hard time? Dicks. So you have John Russo, Russ Striner, and George Romero, and they have an industrial film company called Latent Image that does a lot of commercial work and stuff like that. And they did some really good commercials. You can look up George Romero commercials, and you'll run across some like kind of funny but sexist like beer commercials from the 60s, and like Choco the Whale, Carvel cakes of like construction workers being like, "Yay, it's your birthday, bro," and just stuff like that. And then you have Carl Hardman and Marilyn Eastman. I'm sorry, that was uncalled for. Marilyn Eastman, who president and vice president, respectively, of a Pittsburgh-based industrial film firm called Hardman Associates Incorporated. And they formed together to create a company called Image 10, which produced and directed and funded, for the most part, or not for the most part, funding came from people who wanted to be zombies, people who wanted to be part of the film, people who wanted to help out, friends and family members. It was kind of a community-funded film, and it was a community-funded film, and it, Image 10 put probably about $114,000 to the budget, and the budget, the budget was $114,000, so I don't know how much they initially put in. I thought I researched this, and I thought I highlighted it somewhere, but I didn't have it on my notes, how much it cost them. But it says box office $30 million, but the box office on Night of the Living Dead is unknown because of the fact that The distributor decided to change the name from Night of the Flesh Eaters to Night of the Living Dead last minute, and they didn't put on any sort of copy mark or trademark, so no one got any money from it. And it also, because of the fact that it was public domain, meant that anyone could show it for any amount of, didn't have to pay any money for it. They could just show it if they had a copy of it or knew how to get a copy of it or had a, if it's public domain, there's no such thing as bootlegging. I mean, you just make a poor copy, unfortunately, but I've seen some really, really, really bad prints of Night of the Living Dead, and I'm happy to say that the restored prints are great. 30th anniversary edition is terrible. I had it on VHS. It's like, I think John A. Russo did it? I can't remember who did it, but oh no, I don't want to say someone did that. I was not a big fan personally. I felt it was kind of preachy. I don't know. And I don't know, I felt it was kind of distracting that the ultra-Christian character looked a lot like Anton LaVey of the Church of Satan. And I was like, that guy just looks like an Anton LaVey clone who's like, and Jesus said that, and I don't know. It's just a little too preachy for me, the parts that they added in. Okay, so the principal photography of the film all took place just out in the middle of nowhere. Filmed apparently 30 miles north of Pittsburgh in rural Butler County. And yeah. The outdoor and indoor scenes were filmed in a location northeast of Evans City near a park. Basement door and the basement stuff was all filmed at one of the production houses, so you'll notice that when they're in the basement, there's this huge, giant breaker box that, is way too big for just a small farmhouse that, has one window that never needs to be boarded up. I've heard them explain in various documentaries and audio commentaries that the reason that no one is concerned about this window is because it's really, really high up. It's the window that's really high up when the zombie, ghoul, whatever you want to call that thing, tears up the phone wire so that they can't call out conveniently. It's pretty high up. You see kind of a hill part when people are walking at points, and it's that window so they don't board it up. Why they knew that window was way higher than any other windows and they didn't need to board it up, I don't know. Maybe they did a survey of it that they just didn't show. One thing about Night of the Living Dead is the fact that it's filmed in black and white. And if you've read my little bit about Ghostbusters in black and white, how if you do it in black and white and in French, it has a different feel and a different take. I'm not going to go into that right now. I may go into it later, but I'm not going to go into it right now. That's something about Night of the Living Dead. It's filmed on... It looks a little different than most films. It's filmed more almost like a commercial or industrial footage, almost like a Russ Meyer film. There are things about Night of the Living Dead that reminds me of a Russ Meyer film, except for instead of gratuitous boobs and large ones, you have large amounts of gratuitous displays of death, and that's just like where Russ Meyer would have boobs. George A. Romero has swarms of dead people or crazy people or people that are gonna hurt you. I mean, I know that's not what George A. Romero wants to be known for. He wanted to do a serious drama coming of age period piece for his first film. He didn't want to do a ghoul movie. But a ghoul movie is what pays the bills, so that's what they did. And then, he's tried to do it. Has anyone seen Vanilla? And George A. Romero has learned that George A. Romero does best if George A. Romero goes, they're zombies. They're just zombies. That's it. They're not ghouls, they're zombies. I'm happy with making zombie movies. People like me for that. I'm happy with doing that. and he's genuine about it. He's cool about it, and that's understandable. Here's some weird things about this film. We'll go into that a little bit more. Not weird things about it, but let's see, who else was in it? We've talked about Dwayne Jones, a local actor who applied for it, and he was in the film. And everyone was like, yeah, cool. And then later people were like, so he's black. So was that your political statement? And Romero and Russo are like, oh, yeah, no, we know he's black. We're not dumb. No, that's not the point. He's just like, he was the best guy for the job. You hire the best guy for the job. Come on. What are you? And, yeah. So, then there's Kira Chiron, who played Karen Cooper. A little kid, don't know. Charles Craig, don't know anything about. Bill Heinzman, cinematographer. He was the cinematographer for Night of the Living Dead. And he was a zombie stand-in a lot of the time. So they filmed the funeral park. Not funeral park, what do you call those things? Cemeteries. So the cemetery scene was filmed last. And they're like, hey, Bill, do you want to be the zombie? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I've big scene, cool. So, that's the last scene of the movie that they film, is the funeral park scene. And that's Bill S. William Heinzman, or Bill Heinzman, as I've always heard him referred to. Then there's, this guy, George Cassane. George Cassane. I think his name's George Cassane. Anyways, he plays Sheriff McClellan, who's like the guy who's like, they're dead. They're all messed up. And I don't know why I put a southern afflection to that. He's not southern. He's, that area outside of Pittsburgh. When you get outside of Pittsburgh, when you get outside of any major city in Pennsylvania, and it becomes Pennsatucky. Yeah. Those people at the end of the film scare me. They're like, just like that. I don't know. Like, yeah, we get to shoot people. Woo! With the dogs and whatnot. That's just, it's not my cup of tea. And George does a great job, great job at it. I'm just going through like the IMDb reading people, like, do I remember stuff about that? Frank Doak, I don't remember anything about Frank Doak, except for he was in Night of the Living Dead, and he was in Living Dead 2012, but I don't know anything about that movie. Maybe I'll look it up later. Billy Cardilli, Chili Billy Cardilli, played the field reporter who talked to the sheriff at one point in time. He also played the zombie that they bashed in the head in the house and then dragged away on the rug, who kind of moved his eyes and you think he's going to get up and stuff like that, but it was just like zombie twitch. Anyway, yeah. And he hosted a local horror show in Pittsburgh. And he used to tell everyone, hey, make sure you check out this Night of the Living Dead that's being filmed locally. And that's about it for people I know stuff about, I think. Except for... Sam Solito, who, Solito Brothers, I guess, or something like that. They did the local fireworks display and stuff like that. And everyone tells stories about, I think it's Sam Solito who used to work on fireworks. It was either him or his brother. He used to work on fireworks with like a lit cigar in his mouth, and everyone was like really nervous. But they did all the squib works and stuff like that. And a lot of the special effects for the movie. You're like, hey, what about Tom Savini? Tom Savini didn't come on to the Dead stuff until Dawn of the Dead. Currently, at this point in time, I believe Tom Savini would have been, as Max Fisher put it, in the shit. Tom Savini was in Vietnam taking photographs, I think, and learning what people look like when they're dead in the most unfortunate way to learn what people look like when they're dead. Doug Downer. Sorry, guys. And Romero actually plays a news reporter when they go to Washington, D.C., which they actually did, is they went to Washington, D.C. They filmed stuff with their cars, put little flags in them and filmed stuff, and, they did it legitimately and then, drove back. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if there's, any other fun stories about that. At one point in time, Reader's Digest, told people don't watch this film because ever watched, it would inspire cannibalism. There's, okay, so apparently back in the late 60s, it was totally okay to just dump your child off at a theater for the afternoon. And let them watch, Vincent Price horror films. And, yeah, this was playing at those theaters, and a bunch of little kids all over the place got to watch Night of the Living Dead, and Roger Ebert described it as terrifying to watch these children be terrified with no means of protection whatsoever, and no sense of however to protect yourself from that is other. I don't think he said that is other, that's me, sorry.
The kids in the audience were stunned. There was almost complete silence. The movie had stopped being delightfully scary about halfway through and had become unexpectedly terrifying. There was a little girl across the aisle from me, maybe 9 years old, who was sitting very still in her seat and crying. It's hard to remember what sort of effect the movie might have on you when you're 6 or 7, but try to remember, at that age, kids take the events on the screen seriously, and they identify with the hero. When the hero was killed, that's not an unhappy ending, but a tragic one. Nobody got out alive. It's just over. That's all.
It's one of the last big hits. The drive-in. Chocolate was used instead of blood. Keith Wayne was in this. What was his name? Bobby? Dickie? I don't know. Tom. He played Tom. He played Tom. Tom with the striped shirt. And Tom with the striped shirt was played by Keith Wayne. Keith Wayne went on to be a country singer and worked in television, I believe television or radio as a country singer. Anyone else? Oh yeah, Judith Ridley played Judy, who I guess was Marilyn Eastman's secretary at the time. And that's how she got the job. It's because she was a secretary. Hey, can you act? No? Can you just... Okay, cool. And this movie got so many bad reviews. Just terrible, terrible reviews. Oh, man. Just things I went to a movie, what I saw was regional actors in a farmhouse besieged by other regional actors, or no, unprofessional actors besieged by other unprofessional actors. And just that kind of tone of just and it was just kind of just pooped on. It was this is not a real movie, this is stupid, can't believe anyone likes this. And then it got picked up by the art houses and the grind houses and stuff like that. And it started gaining recognition and being thought of as something more. It's an important movie nowadays is what it's considered. So despite the fact that, more than 40 years after the movie, the film gets just garbage reviews. It's considered just this really important movie, but it just gets garbage reviews. But it's funny. It's if you average it out, it's got a 96 rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty damn impressive. And it's regarded as one of the best films of 1968. That is it is 397 of the 500 greatest movies of all time, according to Empire Magazine. But that doesn't really matter to me, because that was 2008 in Empire Magazine. What has Empire Magazine done for you today? New York Times placed it on the top 1,000 greatest movies ever.
So, yeah.
January 2010. Total Film put it on its top 100 list. Rolling Stone named Night of the Living Dead one of the 100 Maverick movies of the last 100 years. That is a stupid-ass title, Rolling Stone. Reader's Digest found it the 12th scariest movie of all time. I wonder if they reprinted that article about being like, if you watch it, you'll eat your babies. Night of the Living Dead has been getting two distinguished honors decades after its debut. The Library of Congress added it to the National Film Registry in 1999 with other films deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. 2001, the film was ranked 93 by the American Film Institute on their FYI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills list, a list of America's most endearing, heart-pounding films. The Ghouls in the movie were also candidates for AFI's 100 Years, 100 Heroes and Villains in the Villains category, but failed to make the official list. Chicago Film Critics Association called it fifth scariest movie ever made, and it's also ranked number 9 on Bravo's 100 scariest moments. I'm sure it's probably made it to some VH1 lists, and it's probably on a lot of horror sites of various types all across the spectrum of awesomeness and originality. So, like, what, and different medias and stuff like that. Everyone loves this movie. Not everyone loves this movie. I loved this movie from the moment I saw it, and the scene that, like, made me go, yeah! When I was like 10 years old is when they lit the chair on fire and threw it out the window. Oh, no. They lit the chair on fire and pushed it out the front door and then had the Molotov cocktails. I thought that was amazing. My 10-year-old brain just went... It was pretty awesome. Yeah, and this movie just has pretty much gone on to influence so much. So much. Except for now, since this movie, the ghoul has changed into a zombie, which is just like, it eats stuff and then it goes off and attacks something else. So that thing that it eats, gets up and turns into a zombie. And it's definitely, like, just more of like something that eats the living. Like, The Dead Hate the Living kind of thing. That's a movie. I've seen that, The Dead Hate the Living. There's just so much stuff that has been, like, in all many different genres, different forms of media, different stuff. Like, everyone wants to throw zombies into stuff now. Thankfully, it's dying down. It really started, like, when I noticed it picking up again, which was exciting for me, because I've loved zombies since I was 10 years old in 1986, and, like, always made, like, zombie escape plans and thought about stuff like that in case zombies came, and used to be, like, kind of get panicky, like, camping and stuff like that, because it's like, this is when it's going to happen, right? Anyway. So, it was, 2003? It was like right around the time that 28 Days Later came out. Zombie stuff started to pick up. And 28 Days Later and Shaun of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead and then Shaun of the Dead again when it hit America. But those of us who love zombie movies enough somehow got our hands on copies of Shaun of the Dead from, So you'd end up going to someone's house and seeing Shaun of the Dead, and I never got a copy of it, but I knew a few people who got a copy of it. And this is also like 2003, so think of whatever, or 2004. So think of whatever file sharing systems you used in 2004, and also think about, I think this was like on two
2 DVDs or 2 CDs worth of information or something like that. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's when like the whole zombie thing really started to kick up, and then games really started to get into it. But I don't know, I always really liked it beforehand, before the big zombie resurgence. When stuff would pop up, like you'd get a zombie movie every once in a while, and it could be good, but it could be bad. And you'd get video games with zombies, and it'd be like, yeah, a video game I get to shoot zombies in the head? Awesome. You know, which is cool before, you know, they made House of the Dead so many times. And, yeah, zombies are... It's a complicated lot with zombies, because they're us. But also at the same time, it's like video games and stuff like that. It's awesome to shoot zombies. It's awesome to shoot us in video games. Not in real life. It's not awesome to shoot anyone, and zombies aren't real. Romero zombies aren't real. Voodoo zombie type stuff, on the other hand, I don't know. I'm not an expert on neurotoxins and, I don't know, voodoo and stuff like that, so I couldn't tell you. I didn't do any research on that. Let's see. Revisions. Let's talk about revisions of Night of the Living Dead. So, I just clapped. I'm sorry about that. Let's talk about revisions of Night of the Living Dead. So, the first major revision after the release in '68 was in 1986. Night of the Living Dead got colorized by Hal Roach Studios, and gave the ghouls pale green skin. And '97, another colorized version came out, which grayed the skin. That was through Anchor Bay. 2004, Legend Films produced a new colorized version, and apparently it was really, really impressive. People really liked the colorization for the 2004 release. I haven't seen that yet. I'm just used to the one with people with yellow hair. And there's a colorized 3D version, but I haven't seen it, and I didn't even know about it. Yeah. Let's see. In '99, John Russo made the 30th anniversary edition, which I talked about, and I don't want to say anything really bad about it anymore. In, 2010 it came out, so I don't remember when it started. It's called Night of the Living Dead Reanimated, which is a series of drawings and short images of the 1968 film. Various stories by different artists, but using the original audio by Romero. I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's pretty good. Another thing that I really like, it was Liquid Television, MTV, and I'm gonna say 1991, 1992. That's a broad general, so I don't want to hear anyone being like, actually it was 1993. So early 90s Liquid Television, Stick Figure Theater did the scene where Ben and Harry are arguing about the cellar or upstairs while hammering, and people are calling for help and all that fun stuff. It was really funny how they did it with stick figures. And I know that's available probably online, and probably if you have a video store nearby. No, I'm kidding. I know you can get it like on Netflix disc. Yeah, or whatever you call it, like the subscription service with Netflix. But yeah. There is also a remake of The Night of the Living Dead, which first one came out in 1990 and was directed by Tom Savini, a special effects artist who is super awesome. It was based off the original screenplay, but it had more gore, and the plot was rewritten to actually have Barbara not be an idiot. And, yeah. I personally like that one. I like it a lot. And then there's another one, Doug Schultz's 2011 Mimesis, Night of the Living Dead, relates the story of a group of horror film fans who become involved in a real-life version of the 1968 film. No. There's a lot of films that have been remade the film due to the fact that it's public domain, and there's just too many to talk about it. I already talked about the copyright status. I can't think of anything else to talk about for this one. Let's see. People talk about how it ushered in an era of slasher and gore films. Yeah. But if it was done in color, you'd see how fake it all looked. Alright. And I don't really want to talk about like zombies and even like White Zombie and I Walked with a Zombie, but there is a little bit of influence in like The Walk and the Gate and stuff like that, but these things are ghouls. They, strip bodies and continue to eat the flesh after the thing is dead. I think the only thing that makes them like get up and go after something else is the fact that they're moving, but yeah. As I've talked, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I highly recommend it for everyone ages 10 and up. You may have to check with, check yourself if you're 10 and listening to this. I don't recommend 10-year-olds to listen to this. I'd like to give this like a hard PG-13. I mean, I'm not going to talk about like dirty, gross stuff. But I don't bother to censor out swears. And I'm not going to be like gross and descriptive. So, again, hard PG-13. I should probably talk about how revolutionary this film is, but there's documentaries where you can actually listen to the people who made this say this in their own words, and that I would highly recommend. I would say, listen to this, get excited about the movie again, go and watch the movie, whichever version you want to. I think they're all really great. The 1990 remake is really good, and there's some surprises in there if you've only seen the first one. And I don't know, it's going after the same spirit as the original, and it really kind of gets it, but there's like extra gore for the gorehounds, which I am not, and I get kind of squeamish with like the really gory stuff, but I love zombie movies. I just kind of get grossed out. And the first one, I don't know, And I've always wanted to see like the movie from like other characters' perspective, like the movie starting out from like Ben's perspective, or the movie starting out from Helen's perspective, or Harry's perspective, or like, you know, Tom and Judy, yeah, no, it's a really cool one. So yeah, that's Night of the Living Dead, one of the greatest movies ever made, and one of my favorite films. You can say what you want about the acting, but I don't think you can really say much about the cinematography of the film, or the sound quality of the film. Those things are solid. And I don't think you can say what you want about the acting. Some of the actors, maybe, and definitely the zombies are like, you know, definitely amateurs, but they're like, you know, small business owners who just like are, you know, helping support this film. And friends and family who are just showing up to do their thing. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And I think this is where my love of like lo-fi and regional stuff comes from, because I don't really like really big showy stuff, but I do like regional theater type stuff, and I do like the feeling of like the spirit of being there, or the spirit of knowing that these are real people and there's only one or two layers between you, instead of like these like massive fake layers of like layers that you don't see in society that actually exist with just through media. I don't know. I don't know. I like the spirit of presence, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Did any of that make any sense? But okay. And this film has that. This film feels like it's from me to it. It doesn't feel so polished. It doesn't feel so edited down. It doesn't feel so I don't know, cookie cutter. It feels like this raw image, this image that's so raw and so true and so brutal that it can't be filmed in color, that it has to be filmed in black and white. And it feels like a window into a period of time that we don't have now, and luckily we don't have now, where all of these images are kind of like a culmination of the darker images of everyday society, of the Vietnam War, of race riots, and everything that's going on in America then. And I would really be interested in seeing a horror film try and do the same thing with today's shocking, terrible images. I mean, the same kind of concept that went behind Night of the Living Dead is the same kind of thing that went behind George Miller and the first Mad Max film, how the Mad Max film was based off of just the area around and the kinds of injuries that Dr. Miller would see when people would come in from automobile accidents, which gave him the idea to make the film and how to make it look real. In some ways, Night of the Living Dead and Mad Max are cut from the same cloth, have the same kind of energy and same kind of feel. It's like right up there with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of this raw energy that like Easy Rider almost has, but feels too polished, too clean, too cool, and these other ones don't. They're just like brutal, like being dragged through the mud through this like ride, and that's Night of the Living Dead. Thank you for listening. This is People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. I've been your host, DB Spitzer. Connect with us online at PGTTCM on the Twitter, pgttcm.podbean.com. Wherever you're hearing this, there's probably a link to one of my other things and my RSS feed, and where this all sources from, links to all of my other things. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, you can follow my Instagram, Drunk Satan Robot, but it's just pictures of food. And, yeah. You can email me at peoplesguide to the Cthulhu Mythos at gmail.com. That's all I can really think of. But I hope you're listening to this. I hope you're liking it. Give me 5 stars on the, what do you call that thing? iTunes? If you want. Even if you don't listen to it on iTunes, if you download it from the site, if you get it off Stitcher, whatever. Oh, geez. Stitcher. Oh, man. I thought I had 1,000 listeners, but instead I have 900 something Stitcher bots. It's awesome. I want to edit that part out. People are like, don't talk about the technical stuff. I find it boring. And, yeah, no, but thank you all for listening. Thank you all for your support. And if you have something you want to share, you want to be part of People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos, you have something you want to send in, record it. Record a story, send it in. Record yourself reading your thesis paper on Clark Ashton Smith, or, send in whatever you did about Sathagwa that you think I would think is cool. Even if it's an image or something like that, find me on Facebook and send it to me and I'll share it with people. This stuff's to share. This stuff's public domain. Share it. Or a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stuff is public domain, just like Night of the Living Dead. If you wanted to, you could cut up Night of the Living Dead and find other public domain stuff and mix it all together and make completely different movies. You could throw up Night of the Living Dead and make it a shorter, better film. You could do a lot of stuff with this, and I don't know, I always thought it would be funny to mix up Night of the Living Dead and Hexen. Or Night of the Living Dead and some other film where, I don't know, I don't want to bore you with ideas. Anyway, Night of the Living Dead. Great, great, great film. One thing I forgot to talk about. Where did the zombies come from? No one knows. Venus probe or Hellfield. One of the two things. But radiation or hell. Something like that. That's all that anyone can think of.
Are not the results of mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What do they think? We're imagining all this? Shut up!
In all parts of the country. The wave of murder which is sweeping the eastern third of the nation is being committed by creatures who feast upon the flesh of their victims. First eyewitness accounts of this grisly development came from people who were understandably frightened and almost incoherent. Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted. Medical examinations of some of the victims bore out the fact that they had been partially devoured. I think we have some late word just arriving, and I'll interrupt to bring this to you. This is the latest disclosure in a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. A widespread investigation of reports from funeral homes, morgues, and hospitals has concluded that the unburied dead are coming back to life and seeking human victims. It's hard for us here to believe what we're reporting to you, but it does seem to be a fact. When this emergency first began, radio and television was advising people to stay inside, behind locked doors for safety. Well, that situation has now changed, and we're able to report a definite course of action for you. Civil defense machinery has been organized to provide rescue stations with food, shelter, medical treatment, and protection by armed National Guardsmen. Stay tuned to the broadcasting stations in your local area for this list of rescue stations. This list will be repeated throughout our news coverage. Look for the name of the rescue station nearest you and make your way to that location as soon as possible.
So we have that